Hey, today's theme is 3 movies that are like dumb, easy movies, because I just wasn't in a great place mentally. So I was like, hey, watch some dumb, easy movies. And hey, these are 3 dumb, easy movies. How great is that? So the names of those 3 movies I'm talking about are The Replacements, Bridget Jones's Diary, and The Runaway Bride. First up is The Replacements. This is a 2000s movie starring Keanu Reeves and also features Gene Hackman. I have seen this one before. It's been like 16 years though, and I do remember liking it a lot way back in the day. So I was like hopeful going into this one, and yeah, no, it still holds up. It's pretty dang great. The basic premise is a few or a lot of the NFL teams are going on strike. So the owners hired a bunch of replacements. So it's just like a lot of nobodies getting their chance to play football. Just a big batch of misfits all together. Once you kind of get through the setup of the movie, you can kind of easily call all the major beats in the movie. But this isn't the type of movie where like you really care about that sort of thing. It's way more about the journey and just like all the silly jokes and whatnot. And all of the silly jokes and whatnot work. It's kind of impressive how much of this movie is actually really, really good. Like, I especially loved that there's like almost a dozen characters and pretty much all of them get like a little story arc. It's not like crazy big changes and stuff, but it's just kind of like they have their moment. And then on top of that, you never get confused between characters. Like, everyone has very distinct looks and distinct personalities that you just like, as soon as you see them, you know what's up with them. And that's just a really impressive thing with so many characters. And like, I'm not a football guy. I mean, go Pack Go, but all the football stuff is great. If you actually really like football, I think you'll enjoy just that aspect of this movie a lot. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a fan of football or you're just like looking for like some good feel-good stuff. This movie really does it. If you watch it, you're in for a good time. Next up is Bridget Jones's Diary. This is a 2001 British movie. I had been very aware of this movie. I may have seen little bits and pieces of it, but I've never seen the entire thing before. I was kind of expecting more of just a straight up rom-com going into it, and it's a bit more than that. It's about Bridget Jones over the course of a year and her trying to like better herself over that year, but she gets involved with not the best relationships and makes some poor choices that like we can all relate to. It's just like, oh, you're really handsome and are into me? Well, I will totally do this thing that's definitely very bad for me. I also really appreciated that like they made Bridget Jones more normal looking. Like, Renee Zellweger is still, you know, very attractive, but like she's not ridiculously super skinny. She's like, she has more of a regular looking body. Like, she has a little bit of belly there that she's embarrassed about. Like, who can't relate to that? The 2 things I didn't really care for about this movie were the music. It was just very, very on the nose, and that was just kind of dumb. And then I needed a little bit more of why these guys were into Bridget Jones. Like, I can kind of understand why Hugh Grant was into her, just because he's sort of meant to be not really like a sex addict, but like sort of. He's just kind of using her. Spoilers. But the other guy, we do see him a lot, and they do like say why he likes her, but I just kind of needed some more there. Like, I don't have any problems believing that these guys are into her. I just wanted to see/understand more of it. Though I will say Hugh Grant is ridiculously beautiful in this movie. Like, the scene where he falls into the water. I can't. You've probably already seen this movie, so I still enjoyed this movie. I just wanted a little bit more from it. But in general, I think if you're interested, it's worth a watch. It's definitely not a bad time by any means. You'll probably enjoy it more than I did. And lastly is Runaway Bride. This is a 1999 Julia Roberts film, and the basic premise is Julia Roberts tends to get engaged to guys, and then as walking down the aisle, she then bolts out of there because she realizes she doesn't actually want to marry said guy anymore. And then Richard Gere hears about her from one of her exes who's disgruntled, and then writes an incredibly awful, misogynistic article in a nationally published newspaper about her. Julia Roberts is not happy about this, so she writes in and ends up getting the guy fired, and then Richard, in response, decides to stalk Julia Roberts. I really did not care for this movie, mostly because of Richard Gere's character. He is just the absolute worst person ever. His article, which we hear in full, is the most sexist, misogynistic, mean-spirited, rude thing kind of imaginable. And then, like, he shows up in Julia Roberts' hometown, and everyone in her life, all of her family and friends except for one person, immediately are like, oh, hey, you're that guy. Welcome into our lives. We'll gladly tell you everything about Julia Roberts and whatnot. And it's like, I can't believe they made everyone in her life so stupid. Like, that's just an entire town of airheads. That's not even remotely believable. And then I assumed they were gonna, try to correct his misogynistic ways and make him a better person, realizing how much of a piece of shit he is. But instead of dealing with the awfulness of Richard, they deal with the issues that Julia Roberts has. Because yes, she does have issues because, she keeps running away from these relationships, literally running away from these relationships. But like, her problem is down here and his problem is up here. We don't really need to deal with this because this is really big, and it's, they don't really deal with it. Like, I guess he becomes a better person, he's nicer throughout the movie, but he's always a bit of a charmer, so like, that's not really changing. He just like, doesn't say misogynistic things anymore, but that doesn't mean he doesn't still feel and think them. It's not really apparent that he changes his ways. It's more of a movie about Julia Roberts learning how to commit to stuff. And that's just dumb. I really hated this movie. Julia Roberts is really cute in it, and there is charm in it when they're not trying to make us ship these two as a couple. But like, yeah, no, I don't like this movie. Sorry if you like it. You might need to reevaluate your viewpoint on how you look at women. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Replacement, sitting number 4 in the really liked category. And then after that, we got Bridget Jones's Diary, sitting at number 17 in the liked category. And then bringing up the rear, rightfully so, is Runaway Bride, sitting at number 23 in the didn't like category. And this is out of a total of 24 old movies so far this year.